LARA Gillespie. LARA, how are things?
All good, thank you. Yeah, nice to be in Ireland.
Yeah, I was about to ask, where are you in the world at the minute?
I'm in Dublin on the way from session to session.
Very good.
Yeah, I've been here for a few days, so it's nice.
And what have you been getting up to? Is it just training?
Yeah, I had a bit of a sickness, like a virus, after the Vuelta that I had a couple of weeks ago, and now I've just been training. Nothing much.
And when are you back at it? When's your next race? When are you back in proper camp?
I leave again on Tuesday. I'm heading to the Tour of Britain for a 4-day stage race.
So you said you were just off the back of the Vuelta. We'll get to that at some point because there's some great talking points in that. But I want to just touch on your classic seasons. This was your first on the World Tour, I believe, and we talked a bit about last time you were on the show 6 months ago about your excitement for the tour. How do you assess how it went for you on your first season?
Yeah, I couldn't really be happier, like going into my first season doing all those high level races with lots of like tricky parkour, different obstacles, and just racing against the best in the world like every single weekend. That was really cool. And yeah, I definitely learned a lot. I didn't expect to have the leadership role where a lot of the time I was the leader for the team, and everyone on my team was really supportive and really had good belief in me to get a result. And yeah, I got some nice results, which was really cool, but definitely more to improve.
Just for anyone that's watching, to touch on those results you're talking about, you came second in Omloop, third in Les Amen, third in Nokere Corsa, fifth in Bruges, Japan, and sixth in Gent, Velvehem. Pretty good going.
Yeah, I was really happy to be feeling good at the end of the races. Like, I felt really strong, and I think I was really lucky to have a really consistent block, both of training beforehand and then also within the races. I was really able to recover, like in between the races, recover and then train, and I had a really good momentum. But yeah, I definitely don't take it for granted. Like, feeling good at the end of those big races was a big learning curve, because I have never raced that level / that distance like before at that intensity. So yeah, it was cool.
And you also made your first appearance in Paris-Roubaix. Paris-Roubaix is one of those races that cyclists almost talk about traumatically after the race, that it's like it's pretty brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think brutal is an understatement. There's like no words to describe Roubaix. It's basically like a lot of it is on cobbles, and your whole body is just like vibrating, and you don't see anything. Like, your vision is just like, you're probably getting a minor concussion doing it. And like, that was my favorite type of race, and that was the only race where I really like suffered that so much that I dropped from the front group. And that was also due to cramping in my hands, from the like shaking, but also it actually was quite hot that weekend, and I had dropped a bottle because of the cobbles, and couldn't get a bottle because my hands were cramping. Okay. So I ended up being really dehydrated.
Okay. You mentioned in an interview with your team, UAE team ADQ, that there was quite an emotional aspect to Paris-Roubaix, unlike other races. Could you talk to me a bit about that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it has so much history, this race, and you finish in a velodrome, and also for me being a track rider, that's really cool. But the atmosphere, because there's so many people there watching, and then everyone is empty by the end of this race. You can't really get to the finish without giving 100%. And that's quite rare in a race, I'd say. Like, there's a lot of races where you can really hide and, stay in the wheels, but this race, you can't. Like, it's just raw power and suffering, and it's dangerous as well. So I think it just seems to be when everyone's at the finish, everyone's like crying or like collapsing on the floor, and that was also really cool, because you could just see that like these people who are like heroes of the sport are also feeling this pain, or like it's like a big suffering, and then you see they're actually human.
It's almost like a bit of a solidarity between the riders, so like, we went through this together. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Another race that's known for its pretty harsh terrain is Nokere Corsa. You took a bit of a spill that kind of went semi-viral into a ditch.
Yeah.
I think the reason it kind of went viral wasn't the crash itself, but it was how quickly you got up out of this ditch. Could you tell me a bit, like, what was going through your head at the time when you did get back up?
Well, it happens a lot in races where people are just, like flying off the bike, popping off, like, and quite often you would have a little spill and then get back on, but it just wouldn't be caught on camera, or you wouldn't get back and make it back to the front and like get on the podium. For me, yeah, I didn't even think twice. I was just like, oops, and then back on. And I was just really lucky I didn't hurt myself. Like I landed in water, and but I think it's just, yeah, how quickly, like some people were like, God, I would have just laid there and thought, but like you're so in the moment that you don't, like, a lot of things like that happen, or people are crashing in front of you and then you have to clip out and get back in it, and it's like you're just in the race mode.
Yeah, I think you mentioned online that it was like you just had a quick ice bath before your sprint, because you ended up, sorry, I should have mentioned, you ended up finishing in third in that race, which is crazy, really.
And I don't know if you ever saw the sprint, but I come with so much more speed. Like I got boxed in at the end, and I definitely feel that was a missed chance for a victory. So that was like, it's like, oh, that's really cool. But then also it's like, oh, I made a mistake and I let myself get boxed in, and I actually was the fastest at the end, but came third because I mistimed my sprint. So, there's like these pros and cons to, and even crashing. Like with the team, we have a radio, and you call into the team. And the sport director was like, I was the leader for the race. They were like, Lara's down, Lara's crashed. But then within the second, I was already back on, because the TV that they see is 10 seconds lag. So I was like, no, I didn't crash. Like, I'm back up. And then they were like, what is going on? So even that just caused a bit of drama.
It's really interesting when you're kind of talking about getting locked in the sprint and not having an optimal position towards the end, that this is your first classic seasons and you've just finished third in a major race, but you sound kind of disappointed about it, rather than kind of like, that's a great start.
I think if I finished the line knowing that I got like everything out and I hadn't held back anything, I think it's unusual to get to the end of these races and feeling good and feeling like I can win. And that's how I felt. And sometimes, like, it's my first time, so I think I was holding back too much. And so in retrospect, then I look back and I'm like, oh, actually, if I just started my sprint 5 seconds earlier, 2 seconds earlier, I would have had the space. And so that's why I'm hard on myself, because those are chances that you don't get that often. And I can still be really happy and proud of feeling good at the end. But to me, like, coming third and coming fourth and coming second is the same. It's like winning like what we're all there to do.
And at what point do you accept that that's an okay result? Like, as you say there, that is, at some point you can be happy with it, but at what point does that start? Because I imagine in the immediate aftermath, you're a bit distraught about it. At what point does that become okay?
No, I'd say it stays the same, like, emotion. Like, it's not like a huge, like, oh, like, I'm not crying about it or something, but it's like the same emotion that I'm just like, oh, that was really good. What I did was really good. I can be proud of that. I got good result, good points for the team, good experience, and made something of the race. But it can always be better. And I think that's the same as what I think now, even a couple of months later.
I mentioned La Vuelta. You're just fresh off it. You made a bit of history on the second final stage. It's the highest result that an Irish woman rider has ever gotten at a Grand Tour. How did you feel when you found out that news after the stage?
Well, I actually didn't really know how many girls have even done Grand Tours. I think there's only one or two of us, so it's not that surprising. Yeah, same thing. I also was fast at the finish and definitely should have been on the podium. So it's also like, yeah, it's really cool, but I know it could have been better. So it's the same.
Yeah. And as the tour as a whole, how do you assess that now, being a couple of weeks removed?
To be honest, we had quite a lot of bad luck going into the race and during the race. Like, our whole team got completely muddled up because of sickness and injury and things. So actually a lot of the girls came down with sickness during the tour, and yeah, that really just left us. Yeah, we weren't a major team in the Vuelta due to that fact. So in the sprint, I was quite often, navigating on my own, and really, it was a good experience that I know I feel good on these stages, and I feel good after 5 days of racing, and know I can still put out a good, fast, high power sprint at the end of a hard stage. So it was more of a stepping stone than anything.
What is that like, having to navigate a sprint by yourself?
I suppose like I do that on the track as well. Like on the track, you don't have teammates, so you are kind of, going through the bunch, like just finding your own space. But on the road, it's a bit different because you really get bullied a lot more.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay on one of the favorites' wheels, and then her teammate was just like, no, boom. And then I was like, boom. And then I got bumped into another lead out train, and then they were like, no, boom. And then, yeah, I was just like, just getting pushed around. And like, I'm not even a small rider, so like I'm able to hold my space, but you really have to be, I guess, aggressive with it and confident with it. But it's hard because sometimes it gets dangerous when you're in the middle of other people's lead outs.
This might be a stupid question, but is that scary? Like, you've obviously been cycling for a long time, but this is your first season in the World Tour stage. Is that a bit nerve-wracking?
In the moment, no, because it's a complete mindset. If I'm on a day where I've been behind a couple of crashes, my mindset could be completely different to when I'm in it and I just say, look, I'm going to have to take this risk and just go full gas and just be there where I need to be. And once I make that commitment to myself, then I don't go into the fear mindset. But if I'm a bit like half in, half out because I saw a dodgy crash or I saw someone do a dodgy thing, sometimes that can really change the mindset. So yeah, it just depends.
You spoke a bit about the team's poor fortune during the tour. I believe on the final stage you had a bit of misfortune yourself in a crash. I saw you talking about it with Jack Keeney on his channel.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit about that crash? You said it was quite a surreal experience.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice, to be honest. It did kind of put racing into perspective a little bit, or just like these descents into perspective of how quickly things can go wrong. But in the end, nothing actually did happen, and I'm very lucky, and I didn't even get badly injured. It was more, I got a big fright and a big scare. I was just going over the top of a climb, and it had been lashing rain, so the road surface in Spain is like ice after the rain. And I think I took the corner a bit too sharply. My back wheel went like skidded and somehow went in the air, and then I was going head first over the like crash mat barrier thing.
Jesus.
I hit the end of the crash mat, but I then was on this like metal barrier thing, and I was really lucky that the girl behind me also crashed and landed on my bike, and her body weight had kept me down. And yeah, I was just looking down over a cliff, and I thought, oh yeah, if I went, I was going. So then I got straight back. I got pulled back from the motorbikes, the safety people back onto the road, and I was just like immediately crying, which would be very unusual for me. But I quickly got on my bike and kept going, but then I was just dangerous going down because I was crying and couldn't see. And there was still like 60k of the race left, but I'd done my job already because I was helping the climber that day. So I just thought, okay, I'll just get to the end. But yeah, it took a bit of a psychological blow, but luckily I have people to talk to for that.
You have to have serious mental toughness to finish that race, because we saw even in the Giro, Juan Ayuso abandoned the race because the main reason was because he got a bee sting. So like, it's perfectly natural or normal for something like that to happen, and you just to bow out, especially on the last day where you say like you've done your job. It's a serious mental battle.
Yeah, it definitely is. I just thought, okay, well, I might as well. It's my first world tour. I don't want to like not finish and my first Grand Tour race. And I thought the training would help me anyway for the next few weeks. And but yeah, I definitely was like going from like crying, thinking like panic, like, oh my God, I nearly lost my life. And then thinking, okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. I didn't even really hurt. Like when I got back to the bus, I was bawling my eyes out and everyone was like, you don't even look like you crashed. Because I just bruised my ribs and my hip from the barrier. So, you know, yeah.
Since we last had you on, you've also enjoyed a good bit of success on the track as well. You won the elimination race at the Champions League, and I believe you also won a gold at the European tracks in February. Tell us a bit about that, because I know you spoke about the disappointment after the Olympics and stuff of not medaling.
Yeah, I mean, winning a medal at the Olympics was always going to be a reach, but it was just more on a good day. It was maybe a potential, but I definitely wasn't expected. But then after winning a medal at Track Worlds last year, then I really felt like I stepped up. And then at Europeans, it was a really big goal. I came straight from the UAE tour straight into the Europeans, so I was a bit fatigued, but like really motivated and had this goal for the whole winter. And I won a really nice elimination race there, and I'm really proud to do that because that's the first time any woman has won a European title for the track. And yeah, I was really proud of that. But same again, during the rest of the week, I had really good form and I had opportunities to win more medals, and I got a few fourths, fifths, and that's also frustrating.
You mentioned there a bit earlier that when I asked you about the history you made at the La Vuelta, that there's not many examples of Irish women before you. For a lot of current athletes, especially, role models is such a key thing in their development and how they view the sport. Who did you look to?
When I was a kid?
Yeah, growing up watching cycling, or even just as in your teens.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a cycling fan by any means. I more was looking at like Jessica Ennis-Hill for heptathlon, like from GB, or I don't know. I didn't really have that. Like, I knew Fionnuala Britton, the Wicklow runner.
Yeah.
I met her when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. She represents Ireland. I remember that quite well. Or I went to the same football club as Katie Taylor, and I was swimming in the same pool as Katie Taylor, and I was like, God, that's like an Olympic champion right there. Like, I could definitely do that one day. So I think that closeness probably helped. But for me, I don't think I had that vision so much. I just loved sport.
Yeah. You're currently racing with some riders that a lot would consider role models, like Marianne Vos. That must be pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's because when I started cycling, she definitely has been a role model for me, and I love the way she does different disciplines. I love how she rides. Same with Elisa Longo Borghini on my team. Like the last couple of years when I really started getting invested in cycling, I was always like, oh, that's so cool the way she races, and like really fearlessly. And I really admire riders like that. So it's cool to be so close to them. And I even learned tips from them on the daily, even in the races. I noticed something that Voss was doing, and I was like, oh, I can do that. And then, so I'm learning on the go.
What are some of those things?
Well, one of them was just very simple. When sometimes we have really fast descents, we're going into a town and there's a lot of speed bumps, and the way she was bunny hopping over them was different to how I ever saw someone do it before.
Okay.
And then I tried it and it felt way more safer. Like sometimes my back wheel would just go flying, and now I'm just bunny hopping over them. But very few people do that. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. So that's one simple thing that I remember from the Vuelta.
Just lastly, I know you're kind of stuck for time here. I just wanted to bring something back up from 2017. You went on a European Youth Olympic Festival tour, and there's a picture from that tour after with the different athletes and yourself with lined up with their medals. And there's a couple of familiar faces there. Rashida Adeleke is there, Sarah Healy is there. That's pretty crazy, first of all. But what is this like seeing their success align with yours on a pretty global stage.
Yeah, it's really cool actually. Like I sat beside Rashida on the way to the Youth Olympics that year and had no idea who she was. She didn't know who
Yeah.
I was. We became friends there. But I was also Sarah Healy, one of her training partners back just before the Youth Olympics, because I was trying to go for running actually
Okay.
for that Youth Olympics. So it's really cool now. Like I really get emotional. I watch all of their races and yeah, I think it's really nice. And Sarah and I would pass a few messages over when we're doing well, and it's like, oh, congrats on your European title. And then she's like, congrats on your European title. And
Yeah.
then it's like, you know, it's really cool. So I think that does definitely make a difference, because you see these, we're all putting our hearts and our like lives into this. And yeah, we're at actually very similar stages, which is really cool.
It must be a great source of inspiration for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a nice community to be in. Even I like came home, was in the institute, was in UCD, and everyone is just like so positive and really has this nice atmosphere. And I think that's created some really good athletes. And like from Sarah and my perspective, we had good coaches from when we were like 15, 16 and younger, and parents who really supported us. And I think that's what we have in similarity, and that definitely pays off for the future.
I know you mentioned you're heading to the Tour of Britain very soon. What does the rest of your season look like? Do you know what tours you're on past that?
No, a lot of the selection hasn't been made for, like, for example, the Tour de France. I'm on the long list, so I really hope that I will go. We have national championships at the end of June, and then I have a couple one-day like sprinty races in June as well. But I don't know anything going into July just yet.
Look, Lara, thanks a million for making the time to chat to us. We always appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll chat in line again. So best of luck with the rest of the year.
Thanks a million.